When we talk about computer science, it's a very broad field. So, what are some of the key areas students should be focusing on right now?
I would break that into three areas. First one is actually not AI, it would be cybersecurity, because anyone is using anything online today, from your shopping to your documents to really anything we do. And that means that you need every step to be secure. Then moving into AI, I would split that into the people who are interested in how AI is happening in the real world and how we interact with it. So I'm talking about how a business might be using AI and what's the best way to integrate that, or the impact of recommendation algorithms in people's well-being. There's just so many interfaces between AI and the real world that Exeter has now created this Masters in Human-Centered AI.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of our Thoughtcast, where inspiration meets information for international students. I'm Shweta, and today we'll explore one of the top research institutions in the UK, the University of Exeter. We are going to explore the career opportunities, job market, scholarship courses, as well as the edge of studying at one of the most beautiful places in the UK. And joining us today are two incredible minds from the University of Exeter, Dr. Chico Camargo, the lecturer of computer science, and Dr. Arpita Ghosh, the lecturer of economics at the University of Exeter.
Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Arpita Ghosh. I have been at Exeter as an assistant professor in economics from 2021. I did my PhD in the UK from University of Leicester and a postdoc from University of Southampton. But prior to that, I was born and brought up in India, and I did up until my master's degree in India. I'm happy to be here talking with you about Exeter's economics department and broadly also about the business school. I am also one of the academic leads for student support, inclusion and racial equality, along with being the faith and worldview team lead at the business school's inclusivity group.
Hi, I'm Chico Camargo. I'm a senior lecturer in computer science at the University of Exeter, and I'm here to talk about all things computer science and AI. At Exeter, I'm also the theme lead for computational social science, which is mixing algorithms and data with questions from the social science. We can touch on that too. Happy to be here.
So, Exeter is a part of Russell Group. So, what does that mean for international students in terms of opportunities or in terms of facilities?
Yeah, I can take that. Actually, I was, as I mentioned before, I was an international student, much like yourself, coming from a very small town in India as well. So for me, the decision to study in the UK was a very monumental one, I would say. And I think being in a Russell Group University will give you that acknowledgement that it is a very select set of universities that are under the Russell Group Universities. Only 24 such universities are part of that. It is almost like the UK's Ivy League, which are very best schools in terms of research and academic excellence for our students and overall student experience. Exeter is part of that, and that gives you a degree from Exeter also would mean a lot for the potential employers when they see that in your CV, and that I have also noticed for my students at Exeter as well.
So I have a follow-up question for you, Mr. Arpita, over this. So what kind of facilities for international students are there at the University of Exeter? If you talk about the well-being and the mentoring, so about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that there are a lot of different ways that Russell Group universities are different for student experience. One of them is about their academic well-being and academic progress, so to speak. So every student at Exeter gets an academic personal tutor who is an academic from the department who is in charge of the overall progress for the student, which is tailored to their program. So for an example, if someone is a student for MSc FinTech at Exeter, which is under economics department, they tend to get an academic advisor who is either researching or have been exposed to finance sector, or they have been in the industry themselves, or they do a lot of consulting at the finance sector as well. So that tailors the experience of the students in their overall academic progress. We also have a stellar well-being support team along with some pastoral mentors who are there for any student to get an appointment and just talk it out. Sometimes it might be stressful, sometimes it might not be possible to talk about something non-academic with an academic personal tutor, but students can do that at Exeter with pastoral mentors. So we also have that support, in addition to, of course, having well-being support, which is there for more serious mental health well-being in general. There is also, in terms of the career prospects, we have an handshake app which every student should take advantage of once they're at Exeter. And at different points in time, there are approximately from 5,000 to 7,000 different employers that are posting some sort of a job opportunity for students, which is great because sometimes those opportunities can be part-time within the campus or in the city, which is, by the way, just 15 minutes of walk from the university campus, from the Streatham campus, and the St. Luke's campus is much more closer to the city center. And sometimes this can be post the graduation job search as well. So we bring in employers like UBS, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley. All these types of employers are willing to hire students who have done an Exeter degree, from be that in business management or in economics. And we also place many students in different academic institutions for higher studies after their undergraduate or postgraduate degrees, or in the industry or in the government sometimes as well.
So my next question will be for you, Dr. Chico. When we talk about computer science, it's a very broad field. So what are some of the key areas students should be focusing on right now?
Absolutely. So it won't come as a surprise to anyone that AI is in every conversation today. And I would break that into three areas. First one is actually not AI, it would be cybersecurity, because anyone is using anything online today, from your shopping to your documents to really anything we do. And that means that you need every step to be secure. So for students with a more mathematical interest, we recommend cybersecurity. That really, is the backbone of everything that happens, not just online, but definitely online. It's the kind of area that the more we use the internet, the more important it becomes. Then moving into AI, I would split that into the people who are interested in how AI is happening in the real world and how we interact with it. So I'm talking about how a business might be using AI and what's the best way to integrate that, or the impact of recommendation algorithms in people's well-being. There's just so many interfaces between AI and the real world that Exeter has now created this Masters in Human-Centered AI. That's exactly for that. This is not for the software developers. It can be, but it's more for the people who maybe come from a business sector or from the social sciences or psychology, and who want to engage with technology, want to definitely understand how all the AI bits work. But their goal is to not be the developer, is to be working with people and making people work with AI a little better. And finally, the third area that is growing so much is the more advanced AI. For that, I would recommend, for people who already have an interest and maybe a background in computer science and data science, and who want to be the person maybe working for Google, working for Microsoft, Amazon, all of these big companies, and maybe even, I often say, developing the next ChatGPT. Right. And this is not a stretch. That is what I'm talking about, generative AI. We have a master's in Exeter starting in 2025 in September called Masters in Generative AI, and that will be taught by all the experts working on that area to Exeter, to the University of Exeter. That's quite important because this is a field that moves so quickly. I often joke with people that every 30 seconds there's a new update of these things, and how do you keep up? Well, the way we do is that we teach people the core, the basics, the important things. And if you're being taught by the experts who are doing research on that, which is the case, then you will have a very solid base to not just keep up, but contribute to the next generation of these machines, to making them safe, making them useful, and making them just, very powerful in a way that's ethical, that's actually not going to be harmful later on. So I would say three areas: cybersecurity, AI in the real world, this human-centered AI, and generative AI. That's definitely for the software developers in the group, those who definitely are ready to dig into how these machines work.
Right. So since you mentioned a lot of career, prospects which are not actually exactly the tech-based things. So I want to ask you how important it is now to integrate AI in, other career prospects especially for students who are not looking for a tech-based career?
Those are very good examples because not everyone will be a software developer, not everyone will learn how to code, and that's fine. But I think it's important for people to have a basis of how these things work. Whether it's understanding how your YouTube recommendations make a profile of you, or what the bank is taking from your documents to decide if they give you a loan or not. Industries are incorporating AI, whether we like it or not. So working in fashion, there are people in anything design related. There's a lot of people working with things like generative AI. And it's important for us to understand how these tools work, what they are able and unable to do, how biased they are sometimes. And that understanding, not just of AI, but of data. A lot of the issues with AI are really issues with where the data comes from. If all of my data comes from, let's say, the UK, then that means a lot of perspectives from, for instance, India will be ignored. And that is perhaps more important than just knowing how to code. So I'd say for people not going into a more technical job, still find ways to develop some literacy on data, on AI, just on like how these things affect your industry, because they will be integrated, much like Photoshop and other things.
Yes, and I would say that we at Exeter we do that a lot in terms of our pedagogy as well. So there are experts at the business school who go out to Stanford P School on similar places, learn how to teach students better, and come back and teach all of us to become better at teaching our students. For example, there are courses like machine learning in economics, or for example, economics of crime, which is my area of specialty, or Bitcoin, money and trust, or economics of ethics. All these things deal with those types of aspects and try to kind of incorporate the way technology is evolving, or the MSc in fintech. That one is exactly tailored to bring in this evolving technology into our education and make sure that our students are getting that cutting edge education along with being in a research intensive university. I think that's the key USP of Exeter, I would say.
So, my next question will be for you, Dr. Arpita. So, when we talk about economics in crime, what exactly do we mean, first of all, and how does it go beyond the crime rates and the policy?
Perfect. Thank you so much for asking that question. It's a great question. I researched on economics of crime, and my PhD was on the political economy of crime and punishment. It kind of bought into the Dr. Hoy's book of crime and punishment. I did different types of policy analysis during my PhD, and most of that was concentrated in the US. My postdoc did look at a little bit on the UK and the crime rates there as well. And currently I'm again working with some questions around US. So there are different aspects of crime in general that can kind of leave its mark into the economy in terms of growth, development, in terms of trust in the institutions, in terms of trust in the police forces in general, or trust of general public, whether or not they are discriminated against, let's say in arrest rates, let's say in convictions or sentencing severity and things like that. So there are different aspects of criminal justice system that has a long lasting impact in our economy, and in developing economies in a slightly different way, and in developed economies in a slightly different way, as you probably can appreciate that. So economics of crime looks into all of that. For an example, we look at racial disparities in criminal justice system, we look at cost of crime, and that cost of crime is not only limited to one generation, oftentimes it leaves its mark in other generation as well. For an example, there are research that shows that when pregnant women see violence, their kids, when they're born, they have worse birth outcomes, their weight is less, they have long lasting health repercussions as well. So these types of questions are important for us to ask as the field of economics, to understand how crime rates are changing the experience of human beings around us. For an example, there is another literature which looks at how do we change prisoners' behavior and make them reintegrate back to the society. So, for an example, giving them a second chance by modifying their behavior. One of such papers is by actually our head of the department, Professor Balafutas, who had studied prisoners in a particular maximum security prison in Greece. And what they did is played games with prisoners to make sure to see how they are encouraged almost to trust people who are not prisoners, or be benevolent towards them, or try to give them more support and help and things like that. So these types of questions we ask in terms of randomized control trials, in terms of analyzing secondary data. My research, for an example, one of my papers looks into medical marijuana laws and how does that change criminals' behavior in terms of shifting from dealing in marijuana drug from to hard drugs like cocaine or LSD, for an example. So these types of questions are important for economists to ask, because that has long-lasting impact in growth, happiness, trust in the society.
That sounds quite interesting. So,
Thank
if
you.
we talk about the generic economics, so economics offer a spectrum of career prospects.
Yes, it does.
So, what are some of the career prospects you will suggest students, especially international students, who can pick up?
Yeah. Pretty much anything that you want to do, to be honest, with an economics degree. There are students that go, of course, into financial consulting sector. A lot of our students go into places like ENY and, for an example, KPMG, all the big fives, and startup companies as financial consultants. Some of them also get placed into banks. Bank of England is one of the employers of Exeter graduates as well, and also different banks, the central banks in different countries as well. Apart from the money banking and finance part of it, there are also careers in policy analysis within the government, and outside there are small NGOs which do quite a lot of data analysis, and economists can bring in their skill set about understanding human behaviors through looking at demand, supply, and anything in between,
Right.
and trying to understand how to answer those questions, how to look at those policies and evaluate those policies, and they end up in very different career trajectories, including academia. So, for an example, recently one of the masters in economics students were placed into McGill University as a PhD student. There are students who have finished their masters in economics or masters in behavioral insights and have gone on to become analysts in different companies and in Bank of England or in the government's nudge unit and things like that as well. So pretty
sounds
much
cool,
anything
yeah.
that you want to do.
So you have a lot of options if you're
Yes.
choosing economics.
Yes,
That's
including
cool.
civil service, to be honest. So many students do that as well.
How about you can mix economics, sorry, not mix, actually you can add economics with psychology,
Yes.
so it gives
Exeter
a lot
has-
of
Exeter has a very good flexible combined honors program, which is, I think, if I'm not very wrong, it was one of the first or one of the very first institutes in the UK that had a very comprehensive flexible combined honors. And some of my very good students come from combinations like economics with history, economics with maths, economics with French. So basically you can combine and tailor however you want through the flexible combined honors program. All flexible combined honors students, whoever has an economics part of their degree, they do get someone from economics department as their personal tutor as well. So it's not that we kind of leave them alone and they're not nowhere. They're kind of part of both the departments. And a lot of our UK students tend to do that. And I think that Indian students should kind of look into that, thinking about flexible combined honors, especially if you have interests in both, let's say, computer science and in economics, and things like that. And that's kind of something that I think we don't know enough about, and there should be a little bit more awareness on it.
Yeah, I was actually about to ask you, since we are talking about the combining subjects and we have the experts of economics as well as the computer science, so how can we combine computer science or tech with economics?
Ooh, should we talk about something
Sure.
that we have briefly talked about? So Chico and I have been discussing about this project, which we are still a little bit far from actually implementing.
Research projects.
But as an example, I was thinking about how Indian women have changed their status and standing in the society throughout the history, so to speak. And we briefly talked about looking at novels, local language novels, and how the adjectives around women have been used, and utilizing the technical skills of Chico, try to understand what sort of adjectives, like, being independent or being financially able, these types of local language
Right.
adjectives, how does that relate to economic outcomes of women in the Indian society? So we haven't kind of progressed yet enough on that, but this is kind of an example how the technical skills of a computer scientist can get into the economic field or vice versa, and then people can work in the conjunction of these types of things. I'm sure you have other
Can I give another example?
Yeah.
So a very common place where computer science starts becoming important, particularly data science, is when you've got data.
Yeah.
And all these technical skills that Arpita is talking about are the ability to go over, let's say, maps, financial reports, documents of all kinds, and just extracting information from them, combining it in a meaningful way. That's where branches of computer science such as natural language processing, computer vision, and all sorts of statistical modeling come handy to, for example, get a bunch of economic indicators from a country, but also non-economic indicators, such as what Arpita is describing, like cultural production and other bits, and using some machine learning to then try to predict outcomes that are economically relevant.
Yeah.
So the best collaborations are really a two-way street. It's a bit of a ping-pong game. You start with some economic motivation, get the data, use methods from computer science, and then pass it back to the economists, and then it keeps going back and forth.
Yeah, and build some theoretical models out of that. Why does the status of women change, right? Like, is there a bargaining going on, household bargaining kind of a situation going on? Are women being more empowered by having more opportunities of education or opportunities to kind of get employed in a place? These types of models of economics can help computer scientists to understand those economic reasonings behind it, and while computer scientists can help us to digest the data part of it a little bit easier, which is something that we do not have as much as they do. So I think that it's nowadays conceivable to have a degree in something but then collaborate with someone from a different discipline very easily, and then utilize both the plus points. You don't have to be a specialist in everything.
No.
You just have to find a collaborator in a different field.
And I got to say that the University of Exeter does a lot of that. I have colleagues in pretty much every department who I'm working with, people who are specialists in maybe the environment, maybe the humanities, social sciences. Some are more in like physics and mathematics. And well, the world doesn't fit into one box. You need knowledge from many areas.
Right.
Things like the flexible combined honors undergraduate program, but also many things at the postgraduate level. Many master students in their dissertation have supervisors from more than one area because the problem they're studying is in more than one area. And Exeter makes it really easy by having everyone in the same campus and lots of interdisciplinary institutes. So it's just a lot of fun to be in a place where you're not judged for wanting to work across disciplines. Rather, they value that because that's how you get real world impact.
That's very well said. And I am really excited about your project, and I hope you complete it very soon so that we get to see something really amazing. So for my next question, University of Exeter usually, we know it excels in research. So when we talk about research, how soon an undergraduate or a graduate student can start working on the real world projects, and how does those projects help them beyond the university life?
So the how soon is really as soon as the first year of university. A lot of students get involved in hackathons, they get involved in short research projects, they work together, sometimes often with a more senior academic, but to be fair, frequently without as well, because they have their own ideas. One of my students recently said, sorry, I can't make it because this summer I'm working in Finland during a thing. I said, great, I have no idea what you're doing, but this initiative is something that Exeter really pushes for. And then when they come to their third year, they write their dissertation. And that's a moment when the student picks a topic to really dive in, really investigate. And that's, speaking for the computer science department, I see there are two options. Some people pick a more sort of safer, risk-free project. They do something that has been done before so they can really learn about it. Nothing wrong with that, because then you don't worry about kind of the unknown. You're just trying to learn really well. Other people take projects that are more ambitious, kind of higher risk, higher reward, where you are doing something that's never been done before. And it's the supervisor's responsibility, because everyone will get an academic supervisor. It's the supervisor's responsibility to make sure the project has a good scope,
Right.
so that you're not trying to cure cancer in 6 months, so that the project is a good match for the students' time and skills. I am currently supervising students who are working on research projects for their undergraduate dissertation, and they often write me or talk to me in our one-to-one meetings saying, "But this is difficult. I don't know how to do it." I said, "Yes, that is the point. We're doing something that's never been done before. It makes sense to be difficult, but if you manage to do anything here, I can tell you no one's managed so far." And so I would say as early as the undergrad, masters, same thing. During the master's dissertation, some people play it safe, others prefer to do something ambitious. And one thing that's worth mentioning is that this can come from the own student, can be a project they decide themselves. Often I get students pitching projects to me like, "Hey, I want to make something." What was the last one? Someone wanted, when you're learning language, you might have a card that has one word in one side and the other word in another. A student said, "I want to make an algorithm that takes the subtitles of a film or of a video game and makes cards so you learn language from the context. And I want to do that in Japanese." And I said, "Okay, sounds like you have a whole plan." And she did. And then she worked through her master's. She was doing the master's in computer science, and she got a very cool result that involved her learning a lot of things. And the outcome is she's actually now working towards turning that into a company because what she made really worked. That is that kind of success story is actually very common because a lot of students really take that opportunity to dive into something they're passionate about, something where they're just waiting for an excuse to spend a lot of time doing, I feel.
Right.
I think at the business school, it's also true that students can get involved in a lot of research-oriented work from very beginning through different channels. For an example, there are cases of students as change agents where they work with academics to check the assessment system. Sometimes they design assessments with academics in different cases in the management divisions. There can be, for an example, research scholar scheme in the economics department where very good students work with faculty members in their research projects and they gain research assistantship skills. They learn a new thing, how to do literature review, how to analyze data, how to kind of find some answers to a question maybe an academic is asking in their broader project and things like that, and then they also get paid, right? And that's kind of a good way to earn some money from being in the campus, working with somebody who's an expert in that field and answering some questions and also gaining some skills, which looks very nice in their CV as well, that they have been an economics research scholar. There has been also like a lot of our modules have a lot of research components in it because these are research led. A lot of our third year courses are done by academics who are really spending a lot of time thinking about these types of questions. For an example, we have a course called Economic Analysis and Pandemics. We have a course called Bitcoin, Money and Trust. There is a course on Law and Economics, which I teach on a little bit. Or for an example, Economics of Crime, where students learn about these cutting edge research fields, and then they have a research essay as one of their assessments. Or for an example, an assessment of a debate where they form teams and they have for against on an argument, and they basically record that and provide me, and they literally come up with very, very well researched debate statements on economics of crime, and I enjoy that a lot. So that's kind of the way we teach and the way we give them extra opportunities of research that combines them doing something that goes beyond just, well, I'm just learning this for my credits. It's about also how can I use that in a future research area. I bring in, for an example, guest lectures from the industry. There has been guest lectures from Crest Advisory, who is one of the biggest criminal justice consultants in London, and they come and they talk about what would it be like working in financial crime in from a consultancy perspective, or for an example, what would it be like to advise police forces in Avon and Somerset, for an example. These types of research opportunities and real world employability oriented opportunities are, I think, abundant in Exeter, I would say.
That's amazing. And I hope the purpose is to keep the innovation alive so that the learning never stops.
Yes.
That's cool. So we also know that internships, are very important aspect while studying, and they help a lot. Like they will give you real life experiences. So does University of Exeter provide any kind of internship opportunities to the students in, their your respective fields or in all of the fields?
So most, if not all, undergraduate degrees can be combined with industry year or year abroad. And I highly encourage all students to think about very carefully about the with industry year or the year abroad, depending on your interests, because that way they go out. So the university has different ways of supporting you find an internship here. So that placement can be with Morgan Stanley, UBS, Lloyd's Banking Group, or many other big employers, including Walt Disney, etc. We have quite a impressive amount of different companies that hire our students as their internship year. So students basically earn in that company. They live away from the university, but they're still a student of the university. They get a lot of academic support throughout that year. There are some assessments during that year, and they get a tutor who kind of follows their progress through their almost professional life. And it's kind of trying out different job fields. And the worst that can happen is, you go into financial consulting and say, that's really not my cup of tea, I want to do something completely different.
Right.
But then they at least get to write that experience here in their CV. And more often than not, I think I would say about 95% cases I hear from my students who have been into the with industry year, they come back and say, well, I have an offer from the place that I was working in, but I might search for a little bit more. So they already have kind of a cushion in that sense of getting an offer from the employer that they were interning already for. Now that is more like a with the degree type of a internship experience. But then there are, as I was mentioning, there is an economic scholar program which gives them this research experience. There are a lot of times RAs can get hired because some academic might have a grant. They might hire an RA from the university to get some more experience. That depends on the grant availabilities and things like that. There are also many part-time job opportunities, including being a research assistant from somebody, for somebody, or in the university being part of some sort of a team and gaining some experience. Let's say that can be in event management to anything else, honestly.
And actually, specifically for Indian students, the university has a program. Like non-Indian students have career support for either an internship or a short thing during their course or something later. But Indian students have an extra program of one-on-one conversations. It's called, is it India Career Ready program?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
This one is to help students either get like a job during their degree, let's say something on the weekends, just a little bit, or more frequently, a job after they graduate, either in the UK, if that's where they choose to stay, or in India, if they choose to return. And for the UK one, it's a lot about how to write your CV, some cultural tips for interviews, things like that. For India, it's a lot of conversations about the job market. That's because the University of Exeter has a rate of 95% of students who graduate and get a job shortly after. For computer science, that's a little higher. It's like 97. For the business school, it's like 98.
Yeah, something of that sort.
And
within 15 months.
Yeah, and that is that's because the university really tries to push for everyone to get, and not just any job, but to get a job in their area.
And close to what they are interested in, and they are how they would like to tailor their career after their graduation. For an example, there is a career team within the business school that guides all the business school students, because getting a job in business management, accounting, finance, or economics might be slightly different from getting a job in computer science. So they try to kind of tailor it within different departments within the faculty to give them this support, including sometimes LinkedIn photo shoots where a photographer comes and takes a very professional picture of somebody which they can use in their job applications.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's actually amazing that the University of Exeter really pushes the envelope to help students find the career prospect in their respective field after their graduation. It's very important, and that's what concerns the students most, that we are going to get a degree, we can study there, we'll get our degree, but are we going to find a job after that or not?
Yeah. To those of you who are considering the UK for your studies, be it undergraduate or postgraduate, and hopefully a little bit Exeter as well, I'll tell you one little tip, that please try to network once you're there. Try to make sure that you're attending all events, be that academic or non-academic. Sometimes there are different non-academic events happening where your module leads or your academic personal tutors come, other people come from different parts of the business school or the faculty, and you can get a lot of chance to network with them. For an example, the business school organizes Diwali or geographical region specific events, and I'm part of that organizing committee, and we basically provide free food and a lot of entertainment and places for you to network. I have seen people networking there and trying to kind of build long-lasting relationships. And some students remember me, and then they come and then they talk about, well, now I am there, I'm working here and things like that. And those connections actually helped to start up my business and things like that. So, and there will be also a lot of academic events, including your career events. For an example, there will be virtual career events, and which you can attend from very first day that you join the university. If I'm not wrong, last year there was about 8 in-person career fair in the university. Again, go there, try to talk with employers, see what sort of skills they are wanting from their future hires, and you can then talk with your academic personal tutor and your module leads and find out what sort of ways you can enhance your profile. I'll give you an example. Couple of months ago, there was a small 4-week Python workshop that was happening at the university, and I directed all my academic personal tutees to attend that. That course was in the end oversubscribed because a lot of my tutees said that, well, this is a good little certification to have in our series, and that did help them to kind of show that technical skills in their repertoire as well. So when you're there, please try to network with anybody and everybody. This will help you to progress in your career and also find a job, even though not directly, from indirect channels as well.
That's a really great advice. So networking is important, and there are a lot of opportunities available. You just have to, get out of your comfort zone and explore.
Yes.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
So let's talk about something, which is also very important, and a lot of, I think most of the international students think about, and that is finances. So what are the scholarship opportunities or aids available at the University of Exeter for international students?
Absolutely. So we've got multiple scholarships, but let me focus right on the case for Indian students. Every Indian student who gets into a degree in Exeter automatically gets a scholarship, no questions asked. For postgraduates, this is £5,000. That is a discount to their tuition. It's literally get in the masters, you get that, that's it. On top of that, we've got a new program of scholarships called the Exeter Excellence Program, and that is 3 levels, 3 tiers of scholarships, 3, 5, and £10,000 that you get by applying. And the application is not complicated. It's one essay, basically saying why do you want to go to university for this. It's funny that because it's called Exeter Excellence, some people say, wow, but I don't know if I'm that good. And because of that, fewer people apply, and it becomes easier to get it. So if you're considering a degree at the University of Exeter, get this scholarship. Together, these scholarships combined can give you half of your tuition as a discount. It's really worth it. For undergraduates, we can also get scholarship discounts every year of your program. And that, again, is one part that is guaranteed to every Indian student, and one part that you apply for with a short application. Very recommended. One important thing to say is that a big part of the student population in Exeter is international. We welcome internationals, and both of us are internationals. We both went to the UK to study, and we, more than welcoming, we value diversity. Having faculty that's international, having a student body that's so multicultural is just really rich. So, if an Indian student wants to go to Diwali, they got it. If they want to try things, go to the Chinese New Year, there's that too. And just a bunch of other events. And that just makes the university such a rich environment. I was talking to a former student of mine. He did a master's, he's from Delhi, and we're still in touch because of this thing that Arpita was describing about how we really relate to our tutees, we really speak to them. This guy now, even though he's no longer my student, he's a friend of mine. And he was saying, yeah, so I had this housemate in Exeter who was Spanish, and he taught me how to cook this thing. These stories are pretty common. And often these students are coming with partial, sometimes a full scholarship. Definitely recommend that.
The other thing to keep in mind about the scholarships are, as I will echo Chico's word about this, first of all, apply. There will be these types of, do not worry about take yourself out of the competition. let somebody else do that. Throw the hat, your hat in the ring. See, apply, and you can combine these scholarships, which is amazing, and it is applicable to any postgraduate studies or undergraduate studies, as Chico mentioned. The other thing about the Exeter degree would be that student voice matters a lot to us. So students have a lot of agency in terms of how would their education look like, what they would like to see in a degree or a program. For an example, we have what is called the Wellbeing, Inclusion and Culture Committee that also looks at staff but also at students. So we have student representatives who come to us, and postgraduate students, even though they are there for a shorter time, they come and they talk with us, they let us know what they would like to see, and we take that into consideration and have a conversation with them. So that agency is part of Exeter's another USP. You have a lot of agency. Please do talk with us. We are always looking to improve ourselves, and we would take all suggestions with seriousness. It's not that your voice will be somewhere lost.
That's absolutely great. Let's talk about the Exeter, what it's like to be a student, in Exeter, about the, and why do students fall in love with that place? If you talk about the diversity, the student, life, the campus life, or if we talk about the living standard or living, cost there. So tell us about that.
So Exeter is about 33% cheaper than living in London, by the way, and that's kind of one of the finance related questions that kind of we get asked quite a lot. And it's not that far away from London. It's about kind of a little over 2 hours by train. You do have the student discount for railway travel, which I believe both Chico and I miss now that we cannot access that anymore. And there are also different types of student discounts that the Exeter's different shops have, high street shops or any chains have, that students can take advantage of and get quite discounted groceries or clothes or whatever it is that they wish. Exeter is a very safe city, and I know that because I work in economics of crime. I do look at the statistics quite a lot. In general, Exeter is very safe, and I have walked there in the city center at 2 a.m. in the night alone, and I have not felt unsafe, which is something that I think everybody would appreciate.
Right.
So you don't have to be worrying about how safe is it to be outside. Of course, odd events can happen everywhere.
Right.
It can also happen in places like London and Delhi, but Exeter generally is extremely safe. So that's something I think is highly recommended. It's also a very pretty part of the world. I have lived in different parts in the UK, and I think Exeter is one of my favorite places to live because it has such a picturesque, nice vibe of an English town. Beach is not too far away. It's about 30 minutes by train. And also there are lots of different small towns which are very pretty, and you can go for walks there. I think students can get a really international experience there. As Chico was mentioning, there are different ways that they can integrate with other cultures by attending different events, by talking with their friends, living with them. Sometimes students kind of from different nationalities live together after their first year, and at the university they live somewhere else, or if they're postgraduate students and are living in the halls of the university, again they get a very international experience through their interactions with their peers. The departments are very international. I was just kind of counting. In the economics department, we have about 8 to 10 Indian academics who are from different parts of India and have been sort of born and brought up here to some extent. So that tells you a little bit about the diversity of the staff that will be teaching them as well.
Exactly. It's being a foreigner in Exeter is just not news. So if you say, "Oh, I'm sorry," it's just I have seen people saying, "Sorry for my English," or "Sorry, I don't know this," and no one even bats an eye because that is the normal experience. Most people are from outside. The typical student life is if it's someone who's in the UK for the first time, they will be making that trip to London where they see the Big Ben and all the things. And by the way, when we mention trains, the trains are really nice there. And then they will be going to the national parks around and lots of hikes. They'll be getting to know all the English culture that's all around, but also all of these international influences. And one thing I see a lot, I'm thinking of one of my tutees. I met him in the beginning of his undergraduate degree in the Bachelor's of Data Science, the typical, 18-year-old, kind of a bit scared of everything. And now he's finishing his degree. First thing, I don't think he got a haircut since then because his hair is like here now. But also, he's now the president of this student society. He's preparing a master's thesis on this other thing. And he's blah, blah, blah. He's got so much going on. And you can see from his eyes that he just owns it now, and it's really great to see this development. We end up so emotional when they graduate because it's such a journey, and you see how the person matures and how they become really an expert in that area. I find that the undergraduates, perhaps because they spend all these years, they really become pros at what they're doing, and it's a delight to work with them. Often in their dissertations and in master's projects as well, we see a lot of very creative projects full of initiative, things that don't feel like homework. Rather, it feels like it's their projects, they're doing it, and you're just, as a supervisor, just making sure that they meet all the criteria. And it's really great to see people developing, not just in an academic sense, but in a personal level, really. And that's what Exeter really does, like to look at people holistically.
Yeah, and additional to that, I would also point out that the student guild is very, very active at Exeter. I think they have a couple of awards nationally that I kind of don't remember off the top of my head. We have over 200 or 300 different societies within the guild, including Taylor Swift Society to Finance and Investment Society to Economic Society to anything and everything that you can think about, tennis and debate and drama. Actually, if you don't have a society, you and your friends can also start a society at Exeter as well. And Guild offers a lot of support in terms of anything that is a little bit foreign to you, from, for example, finance advice to housing advice to any fee structures, etc., and along with your academic personal tutor and the well-being team. So do also look out to the guild. And as a postgraduate student, you can now also represent your cohort and your program in different committees, as I was mentioning, well-being and culture and inclusion committees, along with different societies as well. So Economic Society, for an example, nowadays have postgraduate representatives and undergraduate representatives, and we work with all of them.
That's great. So there's something for everyone there.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. You just have to ask, what is it for me?
Absolutely. And as you also mentioned, it's really important to have that good student and mentor relationship. It's very helpful for the students. So thank you so much, Dr. Arpita and Dr. Chico, for coming. And it was a great chat with you. You shared a lot of lovely and important insights with us, and I'm sure it's really going to help a lot of students. So thank you so much for taking time and coming to our show. So do we have any upcoming intake coming at the University of Exeter?
Yeah, the September of 2025 is open. Please talk with your AECC counselors. They will be able to help you out. We also have a fantastic India Exeter team, and they can help you kind of find out about admissions. We have January starts in several different departments within the environment science and economy faculty, including computer science, business school. So please again ask your AECC counselors about those intakes as well. And combined with that, the scholarship deadlines are important. So again, please discuss with the counselors and be in touch with our India team, and they will be happy to help you out about admission criteria to visa applications to anything else that you might have questions on.
And maybe we see you there.
Yes, let's hope so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And to our audience, if you guys have any questions about the University of Exeter and the application process, feel free to drop a comment or visit your nearest AECC branch. Our counselors are always there to help you. And if you like this episode, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends who needs it. See you in the next episode.